I would also focus on rights and obligations. Now, rights and obligations would vary from scenario to scenario. So, parties' rights and obligations in a scenario which is out of a lease contract would be the rights and obligations of a lessor or a lessee, and say rights and obligations of parties related to a technology contract would be related to one, say, rights and obligations of a service provider, and rights and obligations of the recipient of the services, or the recipient who is paying for the services, what are its rights and obligations. And once you are a lawyer, you have to imagine yourself that you are probably one of the service providers lawyers, or you are one of the recipient lawyers. So accordingly, your understanding of the whole contract draft would be based on whether you are providing the services or whether you are receiving the services, and how would you look at the contract. So once you're framing a clause on, say, rights and obligations of the parties, it's very important that first you know which side of the party you are on. So either you are on the side of the service provider or you are on the side of the customer. So supposedly you are part of a service provider. Then what are the service provider's rights and obligations? And how are you going to put it in the contract? And how are you going to ensure that those rights and obligations of the service provider are protected? Similarly, if you are part of the customer, then you would have to look at the ways and means in the contract as to how you are going to protect the rights and obligations of the customer. And have you ensured in your drafting that you have adequately protected the rights and obligations of the customer? So, so these are key aspects of drafting, and obviously it would depend on the facts and circumstances, and on it would depend on the key essentials and understanding of the business. That's very, very important. As I would again insist that as a lawyer, as a drafting lawyer, as one who would draft a contract, you know what is the business background. First, understand the business. If it could be any business, it could be a business of just sale of goods, or it could be a business related to just a small sale of a product, or it could be just a business of a license. But you know and understand what the entire business of that person is. What is the business background? What is getting delivered to the other party? What the other party is receiving? What is the recipient's rights and obligations? Once you understand the business, you would know what are the rights and obligations of the parties. It is very important to know what is the key aspect of delivery. What are the risks associated with the delivery? So in totality, so once you sum it up, you would see that the inception or the initial part of a contract, and you again relate it to your books, so what you have read in your books, is is the is is the knowledge of formation of a contract and the vital elements and aspects, or the vital integers of a contract, would nonetheless get reflected in a contract draft through its various modes. Like in a contract draft, as I talked in the beginning, you could get the reflection of the offer through